You are about to receive messages that may be harmful to your mental state. Your sense of reality will be questioned. Your view on things will be altered. You are now part of the meta. The meta controls everything. The meta determines what will and will not happen. You are watching the Meta Show. You are about to receive messages that may be harmful to your mental state. Your sense of reality will be questioned.
Hey, we're live! It should be working. And I have to add one more thing because a guy just joined us. But woohoo, we're live! Yay! Go us! And the audio's working too, I bet, right? Someone say something?
Well, I suppose we're going to find out.
No, yeah, it's working. Because I'm good at this thing. So welcome to the Meta Show. You missed last week's. Last week's was fucking hilarious. We had
I was in Vegas. What happened last week?
We had K-Color, Thomas Lear, and Reza come on, and we kind of streamed in like a little window right here, the Twitch Eve's cast from Vegas, and then we talked about it and like broke it down and mocked people, and it was hilarious.
You guys basically did like a riff tracks of the.
Yeah, even Reza was like making fun of Fozzie Soft and making fun of him for like killing Losec, and it was glorious.
Excellent.
It was,
wow. Well, we it's been a bit. It's been 2 weeks for me. So already seeing a lot of resubs here. We've got 29 months for Luminal Flux. Jesus Christ. Shingley making a comment about the Elephant Rifle. Actually, he just broke the 1 year mark there, so you just got an upgraded.
That's awesome.
User sub badge. That's cool. JC Denton.
A nominate.
Sweet.
Yeah, we had a guy. We had a guy resubscribe last week for 36 months.
God damn.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
That is a lot of meta shows.
Yeah, that is a lot. That actually, he said it goes back to when we first did like the testing of Twitch, like when we first did the Batai.com, like all the way back then.
Very first, like
hey, one of our first subscribers.
What do we do? Gotcha.
Yeah,
pretty badass. Okay, so what are we going to go over today? We'll do some more shout-outs when we get to the top story segment. But for now,
so we're going to talk about a lot of things.
News, we're going to be talking about the recap of what happened at Vegas. We're going to be discussing the loss of Darkness's Keepstar at MTO, which happened just a couple days ago. And we're going to be talking about the upcoming changes that are coming in the 24th patch. So our guests today, we have Sadis, who is going to be talking about some of the Vegas fun times we had. And we have, of course, our two CSM representatives from Goonswarm, that being Nominate and Aerith. And,
yes.
I believe that the top story is going to be... what is the top story going to be today, Bo?
Yeah, our top story today, and we're going to click the button here in a second, it's going to be two things. We're going to go over a Vegas recap. I want to hear about Goon Vegas, because apparently Goon Vegas was vastly different than everyone else's Vegas. And I'm very sad I couldn't go to that. And then we're going to talk about the MTO Keepstar, because the drama hole... it's just starting with that. We're going to get to that. So I'm going to press a cool button because we got new button. Isn't that amazing? It's so fancy.
A really, really badass top story intro. I hope you guys like that. That was, hopefully the sound came through. We, Crack Mac from the creative team at INN came up with that. We need to do some shout outs too. We're going to hit it again in a second time, but first there's some people who resubbed just before we got to the top story, so we're going to give them shout outs, and then we're going to do it again because that button was really, really cool.
Yeah, so we have Pastor J, brand new, Ingress 13 months, The Vault 25 months, in and out for the win. Thank you. We had Penguin Bacon 13, Oak and Ralph's brand new subscriber, thank you. Let's see, who else? Did I miss anyone else?
And Marmuk just subbed.
Yeah, Marmuk, so that guy. Yay!
Let's button again and take a look at the new top story.
The audio should be playing. I hope it is. Woohoo! Buttons! I like pressing buttons.
Legit.
But yeah, I'm excited to hear about this. So, first things first, right out the gate, and I was hoping to get Aerith last week because he wasn't at Vegas, but he was busy. to talk about this, but they announced changes to upwell structures. So they've got new ones coming out. That's the moon mining, moon refining. But they also announced the changing of citadels. And I want to get your guys' opinion from Vegas. Like, what was the mood there? Because it seemed like from our end, we did this Friday during the keynote on the boat show, and we did this during the meta show. It didn't seem like there was a lot of cheering and clapping going on in the audience.
Well, I'm gonna defer that answer to Nominate, because while I did purchase a Eve Vegas ticket this year, I never actually picked up my badge or attended Eve Vegas at all. So I bought in the whole way, but I never even picked up my swag bag or got anything. It was just a very busy time. So Nominate, did you go to anything?
I picked up my badge.
So what Bo was saying earlier about how Goon Vegas was a little bit different than everybody else's Vegas.
This is why!
I went to the keynote.
Okay, there we go. We got somebody that went.
Somebody
went!
Nice touchdown. But
I thought about going to the keynote, but the bar was way more fun.
Well, I watched all of the videos live, so I guess the guy that stayed home knows the most about them.
Yeah, I watched them live
right.
too. So, say this.
Aaron, why
What
don't
did it
you
feel like?
answer?
Oh, sorry.
meeting in the room wasn't amazing. I would say that the idea that we have to have all of our citadels fueled with at least one thing active all the time probably didn't go over that well. The reduction in the timers will probably help people clear out space. Some people are happy about that, some people weren't. But overall, they seemed like cosmetic changes that didn't really add much to gameplay to me, at least.
Ooh. Eric, what do you think? Is this what you expected out of CCP coming into Vegas?
Well, yeah, I mean, I knew the broad brushstrokes already because they had already run a lot of this by us. So those were not the things I was focused on. I already knew they were coming, or already knew something like it was coming, and maybe not the exact details. So where it really went sideways during the keynote is when they brought in Hilmar, and I felt like he tried to do a really, really good job, and he was only there for that speech. They made a quip later that he was flying out 6 hours later.
Right.
And during that speech, it was almost an appeal to the the whole game base to be more invested in Eve and to stay with them, to stick with them a little longer. And it felt heartfelt, yet a little scary. But then when it really got bizarre was right after that they give the mobile app game fucking demo.
Yeah.
It's like, ooh, Eve on the phone, that's amazing. And then like, oh, and it's not connected at all. Its own little toilet game. It doesn't really mean anything.
It's basically
game.
It's basically their way of doing microtransactions on the mobile phone. They've tapped that market with a fully functional game. And watching that live, it made a lot of people like go, "What the fuck?" Like people I talk to.
You can't give us trading on our phones for Eve because of some arbitrary thing you're afraid of as a company. But you're gonna make a toilet game that isn't even linked to it? Like, come on.
Well, it sounded like, from what I understand, like there's very little. Let's put it like this: there was very little discussion in the bars and like post keynote ragers that we were going on. Nobody was really talking about the game other than like eye roll. There's this game. From what it sounds like, they like outsourced, like they got some fully functional dev company that is not attached to CCP to produce this thing, and maybe that's why it's not linked to Eve, is because CCP developer
Can't
resources
control it,
didn't
really.
go into this. I mean, can you, Aerith and Amina, do you guys know anything about this from like a CSM perspective?
Well, they actually said kind of the relationship quite in depth during the FanFest, and basically, yes, that's true. It's an outside company. They have professionals that do mobile games, but it looks like what they're trying to do is they're going to make another property in the universe where it's using the Eve galaxy and the storyline and even the names of the ships in the game. They're the same. It just has no relation. It's like a little mini Eve on your phone. Like you get to take or planets or whatever. It's just kind of like
you can own Solve, you can do moon mining, you can mine asteroid belts, and it's almost like, have you ever played Sins of a Solar Empire? It's like that with Eve related to it on the phone. So it's like you can conquer planets and you can expand your territory and own vast swaths of space with buddies, but on a mobile phone. That's
you were
challenge.
mining on your phone, like mining.
Yeah.
But the only reason to play Eve is the other people.
Right.
Yeah. The weird thing about this is, the mistake, the error with Dust, and the reason why Dust died was the decision to separate an Eve property from the Eve player base, right? So like if Dust had been launched on PC, it would probably still exist today because people who are
Exactly.
Eve players would do that. And what's weird about this is that having the project, whatever the fuck it is, on a completely separate architecture that is only tangentially related to Eve. Sort of the biggest advantage that CCP has is that it does have this very large networked community of players that would be willing to invest in a new title as long as it had a strong connection to Eve. And so here you've got another platform, but it's not really Eve related. I mean, if CCP just had like a market checker app that had like, if you had to pay $5 to get a market checker app, they could probably rack in just a ton of money just immediately, because people would be like, oh yeah, I pay $5 to be able to check my shit on my phone just for Eve.
That would be huge.
That would be amazing. That would be amazing. Like, please, like, develop an app, charge $5 for it, and then you just made a whole bunch of useful capital. Every Eve player will want to be able to check their shit on their phone, and then everybody wins. But
see, that's another thing here that's interesting too. Is like when I was watching it live, I honestly got the feeling like, hey, look, we've put all of our resources into all this other stuff, and yeah, it's not working, but we promise it'll be better. And what I mean is as they were doing Vegas, it came out that Serenity is looking to shut down. That's their China server. They're pulling like Japanese support from the game, and a lot of Japanese players got upset. I mean, there's not a lot of people that play Eve, but the people that do play from Japan are like very religiously play it. There's constant like 1,000 or so people that play this game. I mean, the Reddit thread had over 2,000 upvotes. I mean, that's a lot of calls from the Reddit community, a lot of forum posts, and they just didn't feel it was necessary anymore, right? You had a lot of stuff that they're pulling back in Eve, and then they have Hilmar himself come to Vegas for the first time ever, for a very brief, tiny period, to say, please, guys, we're going to make this happen. It almost sounded like he had tears in his eyes, like Kinkler pointed this out. Looked like he was about to cry on stage, you know? It's like, look, we're doing it, guys. It's going to happen, you know? I
mean, one of the things that Noisy Gamer points out in chat, and he's accurate, is that CCP presents presentations, things that are labeled CCP Presents at FanFest or at Vegas are always unrelated to Eve. But they don't have to be unrelated to Eve. It could be something that is an extension of Eve or an extension of the Eve universe. The only thing that I ended up hearing about, since I didn't attend any sessions or pick up my badge, was people's reactions to the fact that there was no changes or fixes to Fozzie. There was a lot of Jesus Christ, what the fuck about that. And also people were curious about the Citadel structure changes, because that's something that actually matters for Sov Nullsec. And there was some discussion about the upgrades to Alpha clones, but that was basically that.
How do you feel about Alpha clones running Max, by the way? I wanted to get your opinion on that. We didn't have you here last week for that.
I think it's interesting. I mean, CSMs, what do you guys think?
I counseled against it. I'll let a nominate speak for himself, but I was one of the CSMs that wanted to stop at battle cruisers, not because I don't want people to have nice things, but because I felt it might result in sub attrition. But it looks like CCP's going balls out.
Yeah, that's pretty much my only concern with that, is that it might hurt CCP's bottom line. I see no way that it's not good for the game, though, at least in terms of people in space.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's curious, right? Like, sort of like what Aerith said, like, expansion alphas and battle cruisers seems, and even being able to fly as T2 shit in a battle cruiser, seems like a reasonable set point. Like, if somebody is going to be trying on a free account and they get to the point that they're flying a battle cruiser, it seems logical that they'd be willing to throw in and get Plex and actually sub. So the alpha clones in battleship angle, I was surprised by it. I don't know how much of a use case it'll be. Like, the challenge seems to be that, like, it allows people to have old accounts that might have otherwise resubbed and like paid CCP money to not do that. But
I think that's a big part of the idea behind it, is all of the old players who, they might come back, but they don't want to throw down the $15 and they don't want to come in and fly the crappy ship, so they can come in, fly the like an Alpha Maelstrom or something, because I don't think Max are actually going to happen.
The fucked up thing about this is the continued insistence to not do any kind of alteration to actually fix the engine of narrative in EVE, which is nullsec warfare, right? So basically, if you want to get returning vets back saying, hey, you can fly a battleship and engage in Fozzie-Sov, that doesn't really work. One of the things that we discussed a couple weeks ago on the Meta Show, I think it was it Garst who had the idea? It was a pretty interesting idea of basically just allowing remote reps on in TOSA ships. So basically,
and you have to go in there and brawl, right?
Exactly. So like there's some
make it like 1 or 2 nodes. Don't make it like 50.
Relatively simple fixes to improve the engine of the game. But one of the things that we continually see is that anytime people criticize the SOV system, it's just written off as I don't know, either goons whining or other people whining. But it seems like this thing where the impression that I got basically is when CCP gives a presentation, they're talking about phone games and they're talking about fixes that don't really relate to the player base that is getting the excitement and getting the press attention, which is people in nullsec having wars. And the people in nullsec having wars are saying, you idiots, please fix this. What the hell is wrong? We've been saying this for years now. This is an issue. And then CCP is giving presentations about like phone games. This is a question for the CSMs. You guys have had a summit. We talked about it on the Meta Show. Now this Vegas thing has come up. What is the issue with CCP actually paying attention if they want returning players who are mostly nullsec veterans with battleships to play the game again? How do they square that circle with the fact that the SOV gameplay is garbage?
That's a very good question. I don't know the answer to it, but at the last summit, that's something that I had been hammering on repeatedly. And I mean, you're absolutely right. If you look throughout the history, player counts follow activity in nullsec. That's it. Like when there's big wars, when nullsec is healthy, when there's a lot of groups spread out fighting each other, a lot of wars, a lot of combat, a lot of ships dying, that's where player counts hit their peak. And as that's dropped off with the SOV changes, the capital changes, all the other crap that's been piling up, player counts have been going down with it.
Yeah,
it's always been nullsec that makes EVE something special.
Aerith, what do you have to say from a CCP CSM perspective?
Well, I would say that a lot of their vision is correct. Their problem is resource allocation and how they're executing. I heard a stat, and I can't share it because it'd be NDA, but I heard a number of the people that were working on EVE, like the EVE we play. And it shocked me so bad, like I had this look of shock on my face. And they were very careful to, within the next hour, try to walk that number back.
And you don't act shocked very often, as far as I've seen.
Walk that number down or walk that number up?
Presumably walk it up because shocking it was. Yeah. I mean, what we've seen here is something that the EVE player base has been suffering for ever since CCP has tried to branch out originally with Dust and World of Darkness, is an attempt to diversify CCP's game portfolio while leveraging the profitability of EVE Online. But for a very long time, when CCP expanded to 600 people, and then after all of the Incarnate Crisis and all the other nonsense, they had to let a lot of people go and sell off the World of Darkness property. What you saw is a very minimal reinvestment, and I'm no longer under NDA for my time on the CSM. And this is many of the things that I'm saying here are things that you could find in CCP's financial reports before they made them non-public recently.
Wow.
Basically showed that CCP's habit was to take EVE for granted, and that they take the money from EVE and the profitability from EVE and have a skeleton crew of developers, and they work on other properties that then seem like they don't focus group test with the player base to say like, hey guys, let's do some product discovery. Like, what sort of games would you, existing customers who trust us, like to play? Oh, well, we'd like to do Dust, but we'll do it on the PC. That would be good. So they're not doing that. So continually there is this neglect of the golden goose that makes the money. And if even 20% of the money that EVE made was channeled back into EVE development, we would be light years ahead of where we are today.
I think it's worse than that too, because if you look at it, it's like, okay, we have our golden goose, and we know it's going to produce us money, so let's spend that money on doing things that we want to do, not things that, because it almost feels like in some of the cases, they're just throwing darts at a board, and they're hoping that those darts will stick, and sometimes they'll be bullseyes. For example, Reza pointed this out. this new alpha change, mixed with the new Citadel change, means that a well-financed and organized group, Goons, for example, or the Imperium, could literally stage battlecruiser-ready alpha clones in 10 different regions on 10 different brand new characters that don't cost you any money, that sit in a Talos, that could go around and mass reinforce Astra House. One Talos can put an Astra House and reinforce any time of the day. So you could hit 10, 20, 30 Astra Houses at once in someone's home if they're not home for one day. They deploy somewhere. And with those alpha clones, it's like, okay, everyone log into your period basis, dudes. And now you've just hit all their stuff. And that could be huge. Like that, unless CCP addressed that, because they didn't address this at Vegas. You could just troll someone's space indefinitely, you know? For example, and you're probably wondering where I'm going. Posses right now, you've seen POS mechanics for years as I have. Everyone in the channel has, and everyone on the stream probably. Posses could defend themselves, as in they'll shoot back if someone shows up on grid, even if nobody's there, right? That's why when they made the Citadels originally, they didn't make them invulnerable 24/7 like Posses, because you have to gun the things. But now they're going to make them vulnerable 24/7, so that first timer, especially one that's not fueled, is going to get hit with nobody able to defend it sometime. You know, you get a small alliance who maybe doesn't have 24/7 coverage like Goons or GOTG or something like that. That thing's going to get hit, and it's going to get hit with a couple of ships, and who's going to do anything about it, you know?
I think the Citadel changes are curious because it's something that, the final timer being something that the defender gets to choose the day of that. I wonder how that was thought through, because my attitude on it is it's great for Goonswarm. I mean, it's wonderful for us because our enemies are all weekend warriors and we always fight on weekdays. So there will never be a defensive timer for a Goonswarm Citadel that ever comes out for the last day on a weekend. Sorry, guys. Our enemies all get to fight on Tuesday and Wednesday night when we horrifically outnumber them. Maybe it'd be Tuesday or Wednesday during the day, whatever. But there is never going to be a weekend defensive final battle
right.
against the Imperium. Ever,
yeah, and
unless it's bait. So.
And another thing too, this might segue to a later conversation we have. It's leading to a situation where they might want to get rid of time zone warfare, but they just made it even worse. Because not only is it now time zone specific, it's also day specific. Whereas before, if you hit it on a certain day, you knew it was going to come out 7 days later no matter what. So you could hit it on a Saturday, do the next timer on a Sunday, it'll come out again on a weekend. Now you can't.
Sorry, I forgot. Somebody was saying this in chat, and we are moving on to talk about Citadel mechanics, which is actually interesting and relevant to EVE Online. And we're talking about other properties that CCP has. They're trying to, diversify. There's this Spark game. Do you guys know what that?
Yeah, they always try to get us to play it when we're
there.
there.
It's not like Pokemon, or what is it?
It looks
I
so
saw it's
horrible.
it's trying to make a sport that's
It's like Tron.
like VR thing.
It's literally Tron.
Dodgeball.
I saw Manic Velocity tweeting at EVE Vegas, and I think that I'm not sure whether he has got a contractual relationship with CCP, but he seems to be their designated I hope he's getting money from CCP to promote things. But I saw him tweet. I saw Manic Velocity tweeting "Hey, I can't find anybody to play Spark with. I want to play Spark." And time passed, and then CCP Manifest, who is a PR guy at CCP, tweeted that he would play Spark with Manic Velocity. So Manic Velocity couldn't get anybody to do it, and then had to play with Manifest, who's.
And then they played together in Vegas, at Vegas. They did a little tournament.
That's what I'm saying. That's what happened.
And the funny,
it's not a terrible game. But
no,
it's not a full-fledged standalone game. It's the kind of thing you'd expect to pay $10 for on Steam.
yeah,
It's worth a quarter at the arcade. Though.
yeah. Chat's saying that it was fun to play when you played it, and that's not to say it's wrong. It's to say that CCP dedicated resources away from EVE for this. That's a problem. But here's the funny thing too: is these stats were handed to me last Meta Show. Their new game, that VR, or you can play it without VR game where you shoot from a ship or whatever. A bunch of people in INM were trying to stream it when it first came out. Their peak numbers on Steam playing that game was 168. Their average has been in the 60s. For a game that costs money...
Valkyrie,
that's
the
brand new Valkyrie one, Warzone, yeah. That's not what you expect out of a game being released on Steam that gets hyped up by 8 different media sources, including PC Gamer and a few others. You don't expect a game like that to look so graphically good and then just be utter shit in numbers of people trying it.
Well, let's take a look at the Steam charts here. That's the Eve Valkyrie. Let's see if I can get a different one, because I know that that's not accurate. Eve Valkyrie Warzone Steam charts, 156. Now, one of the things that I saw Saren Blackfist post in chat before we got to this was a statement that you can't rely necessarily on Steam charts to cover everybody who is playing or not playing Eve Valkyrie Warzone. But on Steam currently, I'll put the link here in chat. This is interesting.
They had 30 playing an hour ago. 24-hour peak was 30. All-time peak 156, and it's been out a week.
It's been out for 3 weeks. It came out in
the chart's showing a week. Sorry.
Oh, actually, yeah, no.
It came out just before Vegas, so it wasn't that far. But, I mean, that's just the thing. I'm not saying that the game is bad. I've watched people on INET play it. It looks fun. But when you put a lot of energy into something, and you have to have a lot of power to play it. If you look at chat, that's the kind of power that game requires to enjoy it. Not a lot of people are going to play that,
Well, if you put out a game and 200 people buy it, it's a shit game.
Yeah. So, Sadis, before we go on to actual Eve,
let's hear Sadis's. Yeah, let's hear Sadis's story.
What was the Goon Vegas like? I heard that it was vastly different than Vegas has normally been. It was almost like a separate Vegas within Vegas. What did you guys do? Like the different nights? What was the big things?
Well, I think we had 40 people show up as early as Wednesday, which is pretty cool. So,
oh wow,
we retread the Brazilian barbecue. Had a really nice time out there. That was good. And then as we got into Thursday, we had a evening at the Hofbrauhaus, which is a fancy little restaurant which resembles a beer hall in Munich. Right. I think we had 109 people there, some silly number, big buffet, people getting spanked, beers being drank. It was a good time. I think everyone had a really nice time.
Yeah, we piled 20 goons into a Hummer limo to get there. A 2-mile drive, and it overheated and broke down.
We turned out the engine, so we ended up getting. I've got actually somebody made a GIF here of me getting spanked. Hopefully there's video.
There is a YouTube video, but I was gonna play it as part of like our. Mittens. I was gonna play it as part of our intro, but I didn't think that'd be appropriate.
A lot of our guys got spanked, and it was interesting because I was playing to the crowd a little bit, and it was pretty clear that. She was going to put me in my place, so I expected her to. It doesn't. In the GIF.
How hard did she hit you?
Hard.
That's what I wanted to ask.
It was brutal. Like I knew that she could tell that like, oh, this guy, he's like laughing it off, and I'm going to put him in his place, and I knew I was going to just get nailed.
I know. I heard she hit the shit out of you. Like that's what they said.
It was hard.
Try being a 6'6" dude that she really wanted to take a swing at. She went to town on me.
Yeah, I heard. Here's a YouTube video. And I obviously didn't show it because I was told that'd be a poor taste. I was going to have it play as our thing where it's like right when you get spanked. But...
Is there sound in there so you can actually hear the sound of the clap?
Yes.
Oh, you put it in there. Fuck it.
I'd have to find it, though. Someone will have to link it. All right, somebody at least find this for me. I'll play it before the end of the show. But then, I heard there was others. So, say this.
We had a really good group of people out. And, everyone had a good time. And then on the night of the big festival, I think we spent a lot of time at some numbers bar in the link 3576 or whatever it was. Expensive drinks, good place to hang out, comfortable chairs, and drunk goons is basically the title of it all weekend. And then we
had a dispensary hookup. Like Ungar was a fucking hero. Like because we had some local dudes who know. I mean, weed was legal in Vegas this year, so we ended up. Pretty much the entire Imperium crew was stoned as balls the entire time. It was nuts. So we were like, Fremont Street was great. We had like 100 people at Fremont Street on Friday night. We didn't go to the CCP thing. Our guys got a 8-hour. Like, Sadis, do you want to tell the story of the deal that you and Michael went out for Redneck Riviera?
So we were out on a little Karma Fleet pub crawl, walking from pub to pub, and we were at pub number 3. This guy comes up, he's like, hey, you guys want to go up for drinks all night, give you all you can drink for $30. And I'm like, well, I think I can parlay this into something fancy. Me and Merkelchin lock eyes from across the room. We get up and talk to the guy. The guy gives us $20, all you can drink from 4 p.m. till midnight. And I'm like, what if I bring 120 dudes? So we fill in this place called the Redneck Riviera. Now, this is a country and western back country bar. It's designed for like, well, not us. So we fill it up with like computer space nerds. And the band is like, okay, we've got people who aren't normal people, so they start playing different music. All the waitresses are out there in their Daisy Dukes and slutty tops, God bless them. And we just proceeded to get completely hammered.
Oh,
It was nuts.
120 goons.
Some people left for like 5 minutes to go to the Dre's thing, but really, we had a goon party that, was organized at the last minute, and I think it was probably pretty much fantastic. And we all left just completely. I will use the word slobber knockered instead of my normal word because it was pretty fantastic.
What am I here?
Like there were 2 tiers of like they normally say you can drink all you want for like $30 or $20, and like for $30 you get like basically you can just own the bar and drink whatever the fuck you want and just raid their stuff.
Yeah, everything with the wine, right?
Because of the bulk discount that Sadis and Merkelchen arranged on the fly, everybody who paid $20 from the Imperium got the $30 level of alcohol where we could just drink as much as we wanted, and we were there from 4 p.m. until midnight with 100 goons and an open bar.
And I heard that
the bar.
You know what else is there that I didn't tell anyone? They actually only charged us for 80 people. And everyone above that went straight as a tip for the waitresses. So like we took the people working there and
we obliterated their bottom line.
Yeah, I heard that like the night shift manager got furious when he realized how much of a deal you guys got. But that's amazing because
that's just good negotiation.
And the thing is, even if it's $30, let's just say it's $30 for top shelf for that amount of time, that still crushes the CCP one, which is $90. For the same thing, and you have to wait in line for the $90 one. So I went last year. I would have definitely went to that $30 one instead of the $90 one any day.
So it was $20 for us.
I had 29.
Well, yeah, you know what I mean, though.
I had 29 drink marks on my arm when I finished.
Yeah, one guy in chat says I had 15 drinks.
I didn't keep track of how many I had, but we're a fairly experienced crew, so it was it was good. And also, it's hard to keep track because we had the elephant gun. Which is a thing of legend. Somebody took a wheat tip and put it on a hot rodded nicotine vaporizer, and it was a thing.
All right, well, you ready to watch this? Because we have the audio and video for about 40 seconds.
Put it live on the
yes,
show.
right here. Goons at a beer house.
Do I look pretty?
Do I look pretty? What?
Look pretty.
Did you ask if you looked pretty? She's like adjusting your ass to like line it up. Holy shit! She's like smacked the shit out of you. So this video has all the angles.
That's amazing. That's fantastic. So it's great from the GIF earlier that. So now that you guys have heard, I haven't actually heard the sound on that, but I remember the pain on my ass. I was really impressed by how well I maintained my composure in the GIF from purely the front end there. I didn't really. I didn't flinch. Which is shocking.
But yeah, so that was the goon party, and I have to say it's even more outlandish and wild than last year, and I went last year. That was pretty fucking crazy. And I also heard that, and this is from like 10 different people. Link wasn't that good, even compared to Planet Hollywood, and
I would classify the Link as a shit. But I think that's
okay, say this. Well, I take your opinion on Vegas things a lot more than I do even those 10 people. So I heard that a lot of people do want to go stay at the Cosmo next year, just because of how nice that is.
Next year, last year we had, this year we had intended to have everybody in Goonswarm and the Imperium across the street at the Cosmo, assuming that CCP was going to do it at Planet Hollywood.
Right.
I actually moved out of my hotel room at the Link after the first night. There was no running water. There was no mini bar.
Holy shit.
The Link is the old, I think it's the Treasure Island or
Oh,
Imperial
wow.
Palace. Imperial Palace, my bad. And so some of the rooms have been upgraded. It was really inconsistent. Like I talked to some of our dudes, and their rooms had been recently upgraded or renovated, and they were fine. I had a view of like the roof next door, and
Wow.
it was not good. So I moved out to the Cosmo the very next day, and next year, all of the we're going to try to get a block of rooms
A group deal,
for everybody in our group at the
Am I in charge of
Cosmo.
that? Am I in charge of that?
Yeah.
You're
You
roboting,
should be. He wants to know if
Sadis.
he's going to be in charge of it.
If you can arrange it, that would be awesome. Sadis has lots of hookups at the Cosmo.
Yeah, he
We're
has a
gonna
man at
look
the Cosmo. He's great. That guy's awesome.
The Cosmo is civilization and order and beauty, and the link
And
is.
the lake is literally the Puerto Rico of Vegas right now.
Holy
That's all I'm
shit.
gonna say.
The Puerto Rico
Did
Vegas.
you, the
Noisy Gamer wants to know: does the Cosmo give the AARP discount for older men?
It might actually.
Possibly, yeah.
mean,
They do a
I'm
really
not
cool
sure.
deal. All right, let's put it like this: you go to Cosmo, and then you eat at the really nice steak restaurant. And one
You get
meal,
to eat an egg slut for breakfast. It's amazing.
yeah, and the one meal you can get there, and if you pay for like a couple of friends, will get you like 2 free nights. And the Cosmo is a swanky place. 2 free nights is pretty cool. They do a really good job of comping people based on how much you spend. Their like little card you get is pretty cool. So
If you buy in
Yeah,
advance,
Vegas is
it's
amazing.
only like it's not like if you rent, like if you arrange your rooms for the Cosmo in advance, it's not that much more expensive. Like I paid $180 a night for a standard room
Yeah.
at the Cosmo last year, and Planet Hollywood was like $160 a night, and I think the link was basically the same. So
yeah, I think
it's a
When I
big
was
upgrade.
looking into rooms this year, I had them down to 160 a night for.
yeah, 160, which is
I
not
just
bad.
I just had to prepay them, and I wasn't willing to do that.
You are roboting like a motherfucker. Sadie,
I
so
heard
I
him.
need to
He
rethink.
said 160 a night per room for the goon rate next year if we do that. So
That would be fantastic. I mean, there's
Yeah.
really no reason to. Once you go Cosmo, it's hard to go back.
yeah. So but that's Vegas. So Vegas, I heard it was pretty awesome. Again, it felt like not a lot of happiness in the crowd, unless you were getting drunk. I mean, they at least gave you an option to sit in another room and get free drinks. So I mean, I guess that was okay. But even like the people talking, there's a lot of concern with the idea of where CCP's going. Is where they're going after it's all said and done going to be best for the game? Because like you said, no Fozzie Solve was discussed. And that leads us to our next topic with Citadels of what happened in MTO while you guys were gone. Actually, as you got back, this is 4 or 5 days ago. To kind of set this up, there's a interesting Eve News 24 article. I normally don't link Eve News 24, but they were the guys that got this story handed to them on a silver platter. Basically, Sword Dragon got pissed off at a guy named Jay Merclade, or however you say his name, who was one of the main Diplos for the DRF. Says, look, I'm tired of your shit. We're invading the DRF. Goes to MTO and deploys a Keepstar after taking the iHub, which gave the Keepstar 1 day to online. And as we all know, the DRF has been fully deployed down south, completely down south, dealing with the Tri problem. And they're miles away from the north, where they normally live. MTO is like 7, 8, 9, 10 jumps by jumping all the way up there. So they had to go all the way back up there, and a fight ensued. The Keepstar did die at the cost of hundreds of dreads. I think the final total
There was
over
a
200.
beautiful fight from a
Right.
good storm perspective because
I was-
basically everybody was awful. Like it was basically like almost a trillion ISK on
Right. Yeah, it
red
was.
loss. Dominic, you were about to say
Yeah.
something?
I was sure that whole thing was a troll because nobody could be that dumb to try and anchor a Keepstar there. could
But
they?
it
No,
gets
they apparently can.
but it gets even better, and you're gonna love this, Mr. Anominate, because we have a broadcast from Sword Dragon that was put on Reddit right after he sent it. Let me see if I can grab you this link real quick, and I'll go ahead and share this with you guys. And you think nobody could be that dumb, but Sword Dragon is. And here's what Sword Dragon has to say, and I linked the image and link. We're in the middle of an extraction. Nothing will change. We are still going to war, and we'll drop another Keepstar. Fuck these guys. Time to own face. The guy loses 2 Nixes. He probably should have lost all his motherfucking Titans. The DRF didn't pull the trigger quick enough. They were ready to. They were a little slow. If they'd pulled the fucking trigger, he'd have lost 30 Titans. If anything docked, they would have lost all of it, right? Because 21 days, till you get back to low sec. It would have been a nightmare. I don't even think you could asset safety on an anchoring one. Some guy said his Thanatos was ejected into space. So, I'm not even sure. Like, it was a fucking mess. And the fact that Sword Dragon is brazen enough to think that he could do it again?
I love it. It's awesome.
Yeah,
I
I
definitely lose a Keepstar again.
Yeah, I mean, people are trying to say the Keepstars are cheap. Eric, I want to get your opinion. Is throwing Keepstars around against the drone Russians his best way to do a war?
He shouldn't be doing a war at this point at all because his income's about to get face fucked.
Right.
Let's talk about that. I mean,
Yeah,
don't have enough.
let's transition to that.
What a good segue.
Say this. Restart your Discord. It's robot like to hell and back. There he goes. Okay, Aerith.
So, Aerith, yeah, I mean, let's talk about how the impact of the upcoming moon changes will change the politics in the Northwest.
Well, essentially, any model that relies on moons for a substantial portion of your income, you're about to get screwed. We've been fortunate that we've relied on moons for less than 25% of our income for years at this point, like about 2.5 years or so. So those alliances are now going to have to find a new food source, different methods of taxation, taking more space, whatever that's going to be, and renting out more space or whatever. But even that is getting nerfed to a substantial degree to where the value of space now is going to be much more about those and herds that you can manage, and hostiles haven't been very good at that. So you have a great deal of Eve that is not really ready for this. I would say Death's probably the most ready for it.
Yeah. I got some information to add to this, and Aerith is 100% correct from the sources I've been getting. So since our last show, maybe 2 shows ago now, when we talked about Manny, and we said that it was surprising to see Manny in this weird alliance that we've never heard of. No, it's actually official. Manny came back about 6 months ago. Had a falling out with Killa B. The only 2 active people in PL at the moment were Killa B and Manny. And he said, fuck it, I'm leaving. I'm going to go make my own alliance. So he made this group called Hooligans and took all the Havoc guys with him. So he grabbed all the Havoc guys in space and brought them. So he's got this new alliance, and it's officially part of the DRF. Like, he's officially an FC for the DRF. He's full on with the DRF. He even wrote this battle report that I just linked, and he was on Talking Station. Couldn't get a hold of him for this show. But it's interesting to see the fallout from that, because PL didn't show up to this. Now, NC Dot did, and Guardians of the Galaxy did. Horde wasn't up early enough to show up. They streamed it, but they didn't show up. But what's interesting is to see Manny FC'ing against all his old bros. So that was an interesting situation. And even Manny pointed out, and a couple other people pointed this out to me, this is huge. Like, we've seen this before, where the North invades the Russians. Doing something really, like, when you think about it, stupid. Like, what the fuck are you dropping Keepstars when you could have dropped 5 or 6 Fortizars and done the same thing you wanted to do, right?
Well, I don't think that they actually anticipated that they would be attacked. Like, Sword Dragon has put, MTO is a bad location for it, but the ability of Darkness to control and dominate the AUTZ is one of the... Darkness does have a very good AUTZ presence.
Yeah.
They have probably one of the strongest AUTZs currently in the game. And so I think the assumption that went into this was that there wouldn't be a whole bunch of bored people coming to third party. Moonswarm and the rest of the Imperium got involved too, because the stakes were high enough that it would be worth it. I'm not so sure how I don't really buy into the whole hooligans thing. I think that whenever I see a PL guy who is totally going as an honorable third party, or whatever, I don't necessarily buy it, but I'm probably biased, so who knows.
I have some more news too, if you want to add to this. Now these are coming from friends of mine in the DRF that I've been chatting with over the last since the thing started. Like, I was dealing with school stuff, so I couldn't really go and watch live, but I was able to talk to them afterwards, and it's an interesting situation from this. NC Dot was there helping Guardians of the Galaxy. They brought like 80 SERPs. They have a mutual defense pact with the DRF because of Bot Lord, because of their rental group in Bot. Lady Scarlet runs that. That's been public knowledge for a long time. They have a big, huge defense pact. You don't fuck with us, we don't fuck with you, but if one of us gets invaded, we'll help each other. How does this work? Or Gilas, it was Gilas, sorry. How does this work when you have NC helping Guardians of the Galaxy invade when you have a defense pact with Death?
Badly?
I just don't understand. I'm really interested to see. And another thing I was told by my DRF friend is The big push by Guardians of the Galaxy here has to do with Eris Point. They don't have renters. They have very small amount of renters. They're in branch, not a lot of space. But if they could take Paragon Soul or Period Bait, whatever that place is, where MTO is, they can have rental space. So they could take
Paragon
a big
Falls.
chunk of the drones and make it
Paragon
rental
Falls.
space. Paragon Falls, yeah. So
Well,
that's why Guardians is looking to push here, and I want to see what
There's
you
no
think.
scenario here that winds up good for Guardians at this point.
Nope.
That's terrible.
Okay, why is that?
Their problem is they don't utilize their space correctly, and they're in really a fucked up space configuration as it is. They're not going to solve that by going and trying to start a war with money they don't have against an adversary they can't beat on their own. And whoever calls that EPL between the two wins first.
That is one of the things that we have seen just in general. Like, the amount of disruption that the EVE economy is about to experience is unprecedented. And when I say that, it's I'm probably not
Underestimating it.
emphasizing it enough when I'm saying that here's some of the variables we don't know. We do know that it will require work and organization to get moon materials, which means, by definition, right off the top, the vast majority of alliances in nullsec that have access to T2 products, Moon Goo, are not set up that way. They're set up to rely on casinos or passive income. They don't have kind of what the Imperium has. I would say that actually Brave and Test and the DRF are probably the best equipped to handle this change because they live in their space. And the DRF in particular, like FCON as an organization, Legion of Death's crew, I think that they can do it. But your classic, like, elite PvP groups, they don't have casinos anymore. They're not going to have passive income.
You're going to love
Somebody's
this
going to have to
then.
get off their asses in mind. But so what I need to get at here is a key thing that people are not talking about is this. We do not know, and CCP has not said anything about how many actual valuable moons are going to be replacing the current R64s. There is an assumption that I've noticed repeatedly that I have made, the Directorate has made, a lot of other people have made, that there will be roughly the same amount of valuable moons as there were before.
But we don't know that yet.
And Aerith and Nominate, can you, what do we know and what don't we know?
That's not NDA.
There's a little bit that's NDA, but it wouldn't really change my answer. We don't know the dispersion ratio. We don't know the density ratio that this is going to be on a regional basis or even a constellation basis. So there's a lot of things at play here that are going to change how the economics work out.
Yeah.
There's certain things we know economically, like stockpiling trillions was the way to go. Yay. But we don't know how long the cutover is going to take. We suspect it's going to take 3 to 6 months for everyone to cut over fully. And that disruption is going to be massive. Luckily, there are huge stockpiles, mostly owned by us, that are willing to buffer that shockwave. So there's a lot of variables here.
One variable that got me, and I had someone point this out, and even the guys pointing this out in chat, there's two big things about this moon change that I don't think EVE is prepared for. One is when Fozzie announced you can delay your moon mining for 72 days. As in, you frack it, it takes 72 days for it to become mineable. Okay? Imagine if all of Delve does that. Okay, goes, okay, we'll start mining again in 72 days. That's not including the time it takes to build and deploy these things, which can be anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks. I mean, imagine, and Delve, we'll use Delve here, 4,500 moons, just to scan them all may take weeks. That's a ton of moons.
There's another point here that most people aren't analyzing.
Right.
Like, if CCP uses a fair seed and they use a fair process, you would expect your number of moons to be correlated with the number of total moons in your region, right? In Den, that's just statistics. And Delve happens to be a very high moon count region, and so does this area in general. So we're feeling pretty good.
Right, and then you look at it too. All of LowSec is unified in this general setting. They don't want to mine this shit. That's why they're getting out of the LowSec game. They're coming to NullSec. They're joining different coalitions. They're going either with the North, as in Shadow Cartel. They're joining us, like Snuff did. They don't want to be in the LowSec moon game because it's going to be a nightmare, right? So what this guy just pointed out is, while there's going to be all these moons, in the past, passive income allowed the market to be stable. There was always going to be these people who would go scoop that passive income. There might not be enough people to mine, let alone the valuable stuff, but even the lower end stuff. If you're so busy mining the valuable stuff that you don't even have time to get to the low end shit, that market's going to get all fucked up. Like, you can only buffer it for so long, right, Aerith? Like, eventually it's going to get to a point where shit might just start getting exponentially more expensive than it is now, right?
Salvage possibly, not Goo and stuff. We have double-digit trillions just within Jubal, Geosisk, and
Right.
maybe the Alliance. So, no, you count all the other private investors out there. There is a lot of stockpile.
But do you think? All right, so say our stockpiles go into Delve, just Goon locally. I look at guys in GSS who are buying 20, 30 billion a go every day of Moon Goo, and that's just the current Moon Goo. What's that going to look like for Jita? You know, what's it going to look like for the rest of Eve? You know, when all this stuff's getting bought up, and there's not a
Victory
lot.
loves preparation, right? Victory
Right.
loves preparation. They didn't prepare; they're going to get screwed. That's
And-
just how it goes.
Yeah, and what
That's a
happens to a
terrible
small
problem.
alliance that couldn't prepare? I mean, you're talking an alliance maybe under 1,000.
Small
They're
alliances
fucked, right?
can prepare. Like a small alliance, anybody who actually says we are going to have a certain amount of moons and a certain amount of territory, and we have a plan to actually mine in an organized way. Like ultimately speaking, the way that you get moon goo in the system is you do work.
Hello.
And you actually
Gigabaxes.
go through the effort of mining the fucking space, which is great if you're a small alliance because you're probably actually doing work to get ISK in the first place. If you're an elite PvP alliance that is too good to get off their asses and use a work wall and work together to do group PvE, then you're fucked. So the smaller alliances are going to be it's going to be disruptive for things that they buy off the Cheetah market. But really, this is aimed at people who want to have the products of ISK handed to them on a platter without doing any work to get it.
And I also have one thing. Now, this is speculative. I'm trying to get it confirmed outside of the North. I got a buddy of mine in the NC saying that a lot of this GOTG push for more space is purely on they're terrified that they don't have enough money or enough income after this patch. So both those combined, even though they have vast swaths of space, groups like NC.Dot and PL aren't really floating a lot of money right now.
They are. Like, here's a
Right.
stupid little fact. Like, if you have the data that CCP publicly releases and you have a little bit of other data you can pull on your own, you can calculate the GDP of all the regions need. And Darkness doesn't have anywhere near enough income right now.
Oh, that's just even Darkness. I'm talking NCPL, where losing 5 or 6 Titans hits their pocketbook a little more than they think they're ready for. That's concerning on a huge alliance level like a PL level.
Yeah, they're
right?
only going to us.
And now imagine that.
from rate
Now
40.
imagine those groups. I mean, this happened in the past. I mean, you remember this, Mittens. Solar lost 90% of the drones, and it turned all into bot lord space, remember? Because PL decided, okay, we need renters, so they went in with Death, they killed Solar, and they got a good chunk of rental space, and that started the PL rental empire. This is what this is looking like. It's like Guardians of the Galaxy.
What
The thing that
Oh, go
makes
ahead.
me really mad about losing Declan at this point is seeing how badly utilized it is now. Like, it's just embarrassing.
These guys, they don't know what they're doing. I mean, that's one thing I'm curious about. People are talking about renters as like, oh, well, we won't have to mine, we can do renters. Aerith or Nominate, can you speak about, let's say that somebody wants to avoid dealing with moon mining. Let's say that PL or NC.Dot want to skip doing anything involving moon mining, or somebody else who's like a wannabe elite PvP alliance. Does renting work? What's the spin up time for that? What's the impact if they try to go for that plan?
It sort of works, but the problem that people need to understand, there's a greater problem with renting. And you can go to Dotland right now, look at the Alliance rank, look at the changes in the last 30 days on population. We're growing like crazy. Test grew from the CO2 disband, but we still dramatically outgrew Test even in the last 30 days. And a lot of that is renters are no longer growing. It's you can't find new renters. There's so much space available to rent. People would rather to go, why would I rent when I can just join a mega
ASCII.
alliance?
You can join ASCII. Join Karma Fleet.
Yeah.
Join Pandemic Horde even. I mean, I don't like Pandemic
As
Horde.
there
but-
is less density in the galaxy, this is the thing. This is the sort of evil consequence of Fazisov is that people want less space. The galaxy is shrinking because it's better utilized to have a well-organized group like in the Imperium or even Pandemic Horde or something. So there's not that much reason for somebody to be a renter.
Right, and that's here's
all.
the interesting thing. So according to the source, he's saying that the plan would be to take the drones and then make the moons the rental part. Like, you mine the moons, we charge you a tax for it, we make money off your moons, you do all the work. And that's an interesting thing, because if you realize renters, even back as far as Bob, they never had control of the R64s. It always went to the parent alliance. Always went to the guy who owned the renter.
Right, but now it's
Yeah.
the Amazon cloud model now. we're about to see a race to the bottom because all of the effort is on the miners' part now. Like, it's not like it takes effort to hold that moon, and it's not like you get any value from holding the moon if you don't have the miners. So it's like a union. They're going to have far more negotiating power.
And it's even crazier too because I mean the DRF is always going to have its renters, right? They've got that shit managed to a T. But guys in chat have been pointing this out. Building renters takes 3 to 4 months. You're getting in the rental game now; it's a little late. You know, GOTG is a couple of months late if they want to get in the rental empire set up. And like Mittens points out, there isn't much room for rentals. I mean, who's going to rent when they go to Horde and then go to Goons?
Unless you're just RMTing and want to do nothing but make ISK and get rid of it, like that's the only real use case for renting it. Anyone else, you can go join an alliance, be an actual member. We're past most of the elitism. We're past most of the, well, you have to be constantly active and get all these kills every month. So it's just so easy for anyone to go join a real alliance, be a real person, and why would you rent?
Yeah, I mean, here we go. Movement in the last 30 days. Pandemic Horde's down 800. Goons are up 19,000. Test is up 1,900. Test up 1,200. Even MOA gained almost 900 people. MOA did gobble up a lot of the CO2 people. Rate My Ticks, which is the, I believe, test rental group, gobbled up another 700. Darkness is, I mean, people are joining alliances. Another thing to watch for, we're running out of time here. This MTO thing is shaping up to be the next possible thing. This is something we'll probably be talking about in the future on the Meta Show as the Guardians of the Galaxy and DRF play out pretty seriously, right? But one more thing to look at real quick is a fraternity. With the possible fall of Serenity, Fraternity is the only Chinese alliance in the game. A lot of the Fraternity guys play on both servers. There's been times in the past where somebody would go reinforce a timer on Serenity to come out at the same time as the Tranquility timer so that the Chinese dudes would have to pick which server they play on that day. But with Serenity possibly going down, Fraternity might make a big play at downtime. That is while Darkness has had a good downtime presence, Fraternity is looking like they could match that. They're up to 3,500 people and climbing. So that'll be something to watch for here in the next coming months, is what happens to all these Chinese players that start playing on Tranquility. So
fight for a new time zone.
Yeah, I want to know where the alphas come, like the new alpha wave that will come.
Yeah.
If there's going to actually be a new alpha wave. I mean, that's the challenge. Is it too little, too late? Like CCP did a big marketing push for alpha clones to begin with. Is there going to be are they going to get the word out? Like, hey, Eve is now free to play. How are they going to get people to know that they're making the alpha program?
I think there was a bunch of articles done by people like PC Gamer. I think did one because there was a guy at FanFest who was covering that.
If it's not pushed when it's out by CCP themselves, it's wasted, right? So that's the thing that we'll have to look for. I don't know whether the CSM knows anything about their plans. Aerith,
no, we don't know anything about the housing plan.
All right. Well, it's been an interesting week. We're going to get together next week. We are running out of time here, boys and girls. We will catch up. I'm not sure what we're going to be talking about.
I'm not sure because, like I said, this Keepstar thing happened in the middle of the week this week. Vegas happened. We'll see what happens. I mean, there's a lot of news shaping up. One of the things when it comes to doing the Meta Show is finding what is really important to talk about. I mean, we had 3 or 4 other things we could have mentioned, but we didn't have enough time, right? So it's finding that 1 or 2 stories that's big, and who knows. The Tri-War pittered out at Vegas. There was this huge 1,900-man fight that wasn't really a fight. It was just they reinforced all the citadels in Tri's home system. And then Tri the next morning reinforced the FCON Fortizar, and then all the timers got saved. Even the final timer for an Azabel that was really important to try producing dreads, it petered out into nothing. I sat there for a week on DBRB waiting to stream it, and there was never a fight. 40 in local all week. So, yeah, this is going to be amazing. But yeah, we're out of time. Gotta go. Thanks,
all right, guys.
And everybody.
Thanks for coming, and thanks to Aerith, and Nominate, and to Status, and we will catch you all next week.
I think we have a few quick shout-outs.
Later on.
Toastmaster just resubscribed, but there was a couple others I might have missed. I'm sorry if I missed you. We'll get you another time. Sorry about that. So, yeah. Bye, guys.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
You are about to receive messages that may be harmful to your mental state. Your sense of reality will be questioned. Your view on things will be altered. You are now part of the meta. The meta controls everything. The meta determines what will and will not happen. You are watching the Meta Show.